Great, great.
Good. Your depth at your interior defensive line positions and corner look like they're going to really be tested on Sunday. What are your thoughts about your depth there and how you felt like some of your new guys did at those spots, particularly Sneed and Tershawn Morton?
Yeah, I tell you what, very encouraged by what those guys did last week. I mean, look, they were thrown in the fire. We had planned to play LJ quite a bit, and obviously Turk had to hop in there with the injury. Looking for those guys to continue to step up. We're going to have to get some other bodies in there. I thought Rashad Fenton did a nice job jumping in there last week. So those guys have gotten a lot of work this week. Certainly we'll get a lot of work through the rest of the week, and hopefully they can step up and play well.
Go next to Herbie. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach. Good morning. How are you?
Great.
Hey, obviously, when you prepared for the Chargers, the 2 games last year, you had to deal with Phillip Rivers and Melvin Gordon. This time around, it looks a little different. What are you seeing after you saw their tape against the Bengals, and what are some of the challenges against Tyrod Taylor?
Yeah, I was with Tyrod in Baltimore, and I got extreme respect for him. He's a premier athlete. Now, I know he's been in the league for a little bit, but I respect his athletic ability, what he can do when he tucks the ball down, how he can extend it down. I've seen it in practice. I've seen it in games when he was in Baltimore. So, and at Buffalo. Got a lot of respect for him. What I saw last week was a team that came out in the second half and decided that they were going to win that football game by running the football. And I thought they did it really, really well. That was impressive to me, the way they won the game, the way they hung in there. And I got to listen, they've got weapons. We know that. I have respect for the quarterback because I've been around him. So I know that our guys feel this. It's going to be a heck of a challenge. It's early in the year, and we need to find a way to win a divisional game.
Let's go next to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Good morning, Coach. I was curious, what gives you confidence in this unit that if Charvarius is unable to go in this game, that you guys will be all right there for as long as he needs to sit?
Well, I mean, look, obviously Rashad and LJ, if they have to go out there and play corner, haven't had as many snaps as the guys we've had there before. It's good that LJ's got a game under his belt and that Rashad got out there a little bit and played a little bit last year. I think the other 9 guys need to step up. We need to help them here and there. We need to make sure that the quarterback's not sitting back there with the ball too long. That's where our D-line comes into play. And, I got to call certain things to help those guys out. So all that in mind, hopefully we can wrap it up into a good package and certainly all 11 of us have some success, but make sure that those guys have it too.
Let's go next to Sam Ellinger. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Steve. I'm wondering with Frank Clark specifically, is that the best that you've seen him get off the line of scrimmage since he's been here? And I'm just wondering if that's just simply health or whatever. Do you feel like you have more options, not just Frank, but some of those other guys being healthy, more options to get to the quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, the health is huge, and losing Alex hurt us a little bit, and I think it always does because he's a guy that does a lot of different things for us. But getting to your point on Frank and the takeoff, I thought he did a great job of whatever it is he was picking up. And listen, pass rush and D-line is all about get off, especially on third down or those passing situations. And I watched Frank yesterday work on that off to the side while we were doing one-on-one against the O-lineman. And it wasn't even one of his reps. He was over there working get off. So I think he realizes how important that is. And I agree with you. He looked pretty good at it last week.
Let's go next to Seren Petra. Go ahead, Seren.
Coach, I know Frank Clark and Chris Jones were getting a lot of the conversation about the pass rush and everything, but it looked like, they'd pretty much been just set free, like go get him. And with a running quarterback and Tyrod Taylor's a guy that can have wheels, that opens up rushing lanes. They weren't there. Can you explain why you were so effective? The other guys, right, around Chris Jones and Frank Clark that maybe did the not so glorious, sack pass rush part that enables them to be able to maybe not have assignment sound stuff they've got to worry about and just go hell bent for the quarterback.
That's a really, really good point. I think a name that gets lost in the shuffle here is TK. He's all over the place and helps us out tremendously. I thought one of the things the guys did last week in those passing situations was that they were, what we talk about, relentless in their pass rush. I always tell them that pass rushers keep rushing the passer. There's so many times in the league, whether you're sending 4 or 5 or whatever it is, that if they don't hit their first move, they tend to back off. And lo and behold, the quarterback ends up stepping up right in that area he would have been if he kept rushing the passer. But I thought all of those guys did a really good job of that last week against a quarterback that can be a real problem. Now we got the same challenge this week with Tyrod. So hopefully we can close a couple of those lanes and make sure that he doesn't hurt us with his feet. And listen, it won't be the exact same game plan. We like to change things up, but I'm hoping that in those instances they can perform the same way that they did. You bring up a good point about how relentless they were, and sometimes the other guys don't get the credit because it's the guy that gets the final stat. But sometimes the other guys are the ones that make it happen.
And just as a follow-up, one of the guys that got in there, we talked about Dana throughout coming through training camp and everything.
Yeah.
I know Michigan played him a little bit inside and everything, but is he, and I know Brett Veach and the scouting guys do all the scouting, but I'm sure you looked at some tapes and gave an opinion on him. Does he surprise you with his athleticism and quickness, because it seems more than what he had at Michigan? Yeah,
and not really. Maybe I'm not surprised by it now because I saw it in training camp. I've told you before that Coach Daly and myself were thoroughly impressed with him right from the beginning, Zoom meetings, the whole thing. And then when he came out here, he's a real pro for a young guy. Listen, we all know his story. He was at a smaller school. He transfers to Michigan 1 year. He finds his way in there and plays a lot. And now he's kind of excelling here. And he's kind of mixed in real good with our guys. We're happy we got him.
Got time for a couple more guys. Let's go Herbie and then Steve to close it out. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach, as we're in the middle of this Zoom call, there was an announcement that just came out about the COVID fan the fan that tested positive at Arrowhead. Team just released a statement on that. What are your thoughts on, as you get ready to go into LA and there are no fans, as far as safety is concerned, what are your general impressions?
Yeah, I wasn't real aware of it, heard something real quick. I'd stand on the statement that the team made, but I will say this. I just think the protocol and the way things have been going have been really, really good. I mean, I know I feel real safe. But other than that, I don't know a lot about what you're talking about. But I think our guys have done a great job, and I think Rick and his staff have been outstanding.
Let's go to Steve Walls to close this out. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, what's happening, Steve? After the game last week, Tyron said he was pissed off because he felt like the defense played well but gave up points at the end of the game. What was his message to the team at the end of the game, and what does that say about your leader, about the leader of your defense being not satisfied with just getting the win?
What it says to me is he thinks like I do. I felt the same way, and look, but you don't want to sour the fact that we won a football game because it's hard to win in this league. But I'm with him 100%. I think when we get to that point where we can close the team out, I'd like to be able to do that and not let it get back to whether it was 2 possessions or whatever the score was, especially when Patrick and the guys on offense are putting points up there. I agree with him 100%. I value his leadership, and I'm glad that he feels that way. And I think most of the guys are the same, to be honest with you. But they'll follow his lead, and hopefully we can step it up. And I mean, we all thought we played just okay last week defensively, to be honest with you. I'm glad we won, and there was a point there where it was 31-7, so it looks really good. But we'd like to play better.
All right. How we doing today? Everybody good? Well, good. Just a quick word here. Feels good to coming off a victory against a good opponent. Thought our guys played hard. Thought they played fast. They had some good energy. They had a good focus about them. Thought overall we played a clean game. But however, we need some things that we need to clean up, that we need to improve upon to help us throughout the course of the season. So with that said, fellas, I'm all ears.
Let's start with Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Hey, morning, Coach. I was curious, in the last game, just how important do you think it was for your entire campaign to say, all right, we're establishing the run. Not only can we beat you guys through the air, but we can do this thing on the ground as well.
Well, it's always good to establish the run game because it opens up a lot of different things, especially with the quarterback that we have and the receivers that we have out on the perimeter. I thought the young kid did a heck of a job, but hats off to the guys up front. Our O-line did a hell of a job of keeping Pat clean. They did a heck of a job of blocking in the run game. Kudos to our tight ends and our receivers downfield as well. The kid did a very good job. There's some things and some reads that I know that he missed that he would want to take back. But those are the little things that's going to help him to grow as we continue to move forward in the season.
Let's go to Sam Ellinger next. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, maybe a bit of a follow-up to what Pete just asked you, but up front, you guys just look to do such a good job up there. I'm just wondering what you see different up there. Is it more than just, obviously a little bit new personnel? Is it more than a simile? How do you guys see those guys working up front different than last year?
Well, I just think that having his time together, Coach Heck has always done a great job of getting these guys to play. Obviously, Fish came out. I mean, he's a veteran that's been here for a number of years. Mitchell Schwartz stood up, did a hell of a job. I mean, Austin Ryder, those three have been playing together for a while now. And then now you bring Wiley back in the mix, and now you bring KO. So these guys do a heck of a job of playing for one another. They do a great job of communicating with each other. And they just have a good chemistry. And so when you have that combined with a unique runner as we have a chance. And then, like I said, out on the perimeter, we have unselfish football players. Those guys get it. They understand that, hey, it's not about the personal stats. It's about whatever's going to help us to accomplish the goal. The goal is always to win. How are we going to get that done? I have to make sure that I'm doing my part when called upon. And if that means I got to go block downfield, then I have to go and block downfield. If that means I got to run X amount of routes, then that means, hey, I got to run my route to perfection. But those guys play for one another. That's what makes this team special.
Let's go next to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Eric, how you doing today?
Doing good. Adam, how you doing?
Good. Have you identified the things maybe you guys did wrong when you were trying to run the ball in those goal-to-go situations from the other night? And also, this was really the first chance, other than a little bit in training camp, where you got to see Clyde running the ball in those short yardage situations. What do you think of him as a short yardage goal line type runner?
Well, first of all, I'm going to say this just because I coached the position for a number of years. Clyde got to do a better job of making those guys right, and he understands that. He has to be disciplined and sound with his footwork, and he saw that. And I know he's if anything, he's probably the most critical person of his own performance. Although it was a good performance, he knows he left some things out there on the field that could have helped us to be better. So there's some things in those areas that he can help us, and he understands that. He's working on that, and Coach Dielen's doing a heck of a job of cleaning all that stuff up. But also, too, like I said earlier, these guys have a good chemistry and a good feel for one another. Everything starts up front, regardless of what side of the ball you're on. On our side of the ball, those guys understand that with them, we can accomplish a lot of things, whether it's in the pass game or in the run game. If we're struggling up front, it makes for a tough day.
Let's go next to Sam McDowell. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Eric. Hope all's well. I know you guys are making mid-game adjustments in every single game, but as far as the amount that you guys ran on Thursday, did that progress the way you anticipated, or did you make even more adjustments to sort of make that mix work than you maybe had anticipated on Thursday?
Well, you go into each game preparing for any given situation that can present itself. They started playing a little bit more from the top down, playing giving us a clean box, playing deep in coverage. We were like, hey, you know what? We need to pound it a little bit to make these guys come up and play and be aggressive in the run game. So it just opened up everything. And our O-line did a heck of a job of establishing some rhythm up front, did a great job of communicating on the sideline with our coaching staff. And then when you got that connection, it just helps. And these guys did a heck of a job. Pat did a great job of executing, did a good sound job of calling the plays and making sure that, hey, you know what? When it was time to run it, he was like, hey, coach, call it, run it again. Let's make sure that we're maximizing this opportunity that we have.
Go next to Matt Derrick. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Coach, you talked a little bit about the offensive line, and I'm curious specifically about KO. A lot of your guys are pretty athletic. They can move around, especially get outside and downfield. KO's got a little bit more of that brawler, that man-on-man quality about him. Does that bring something different to your offensive line, and does that bring out the same mentality in the other guys?
Well, I'm going to just say this, and I've said this before. He's a competitive prick, okay? We love the attitude and the determined mindset that he brings to our room, okay? He's a guy that wants to brawl each and every play. But on top of that, I mean, he's just a tough guy. He understands the dynamics of our O-line room, and he brings that chemistry together, and he just brings that brute force with him when he's out there and playing. And he wants the ball to be ran behind him. But also he understands exactly how we're going to go about doing this. We want to make sure that we're playing smart, we're playing hard, and we're playing fast, but more importantly, that we're being accountable and we're not doing anything that's going to keep us from accomplishing our goals. But what a great kid. Love everything that he brings to the table. And I think he's just been a great addition.
We've got time for a couple more. Let's go Darren and then Karen. Go ahead, Darren.
Hey, Eric, I hope all is well with you. Look, your team played well against J.J. Watt, kind of kept him quiet. What are the expectations for your offensive line this week as they face, Melvin Ingram as well as Joey Bosa? And then second of all, look, the way that the players handled the protests and coaches as well, do you foresee that continuing, or is this just a 1 week deal?
Well, first of all, I thought our offensive line did a heck of a job last week. And each and every week, they're going to be tested. Every week, there's somebody across the other on the other side of the ball that's going to present a challenge. We know what Bosa is capable of. We watched him this past weekend on TV and watched all the things that he can do. We know what Melvin Ingram brings to the table as well. On top of that, they got a couple of young guys inside that does a hell of a job as well, with Rochelle and the young kid Tillery coming in. And then how about the free agent pickup in Linville Joseph, the kid out of Minnesota that they have. So each and every week, we're going to be presented with a challenge. Our guys have been around, enough. They've played enough ball together. They understand that challenge. And we understand that those are some dynamic football players. We got to make sure we're putting our guys in the right position and making sure that we're giving them the appropriate help so they can execute and keep the quarterback clean. Now, as far as the protests, Darren, I'm all in for whatever the players choose to do, whatever they decide. Right now, I've been focused on the game plan. I haven't asked because they know when I'm locked in, I'm locked in. They'll let me know and instruct me on exactly what we're doing moving forward. But I will say this, hats off to them. These guys have utilized their voices and used their platforms. I've been very, very proud of the way that they have handled everything.
Let's go to Karen for the last one. Go ahead, Karen.
Hi, Coach. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing? Okay,
I'm doing great. Yeah, I know. I don't have my makeup on, so I didn't want to scare you. Anyway,
I don't have mine on either, so I hope I don't scare you.
You look great. Natural beauty. Anyway, have you changed anything communication-wise, knowing you're going to a venue where there's no fans and, everybody can hear everybody? So what have you done this week to make sure nobody hears anything on the sideline or hears the plays that you're calling? Have you made adjustments this week to prepare for that?
Well, I think more than anything is just using our inside voice a little bit more to help us. But I think we just got to make sure that Pat is keeping the huddle a little bit deeper and away from the defense. It's going to be tough, and I shouldn't say it's going to be tough, but it's going to present a challenge for us because we don't necessarily have that crowd noise going. So we got to make sure that we're doing a good job of just communicating with one another, understanding that there is no crowd noise and that, hey, we can just sit here and talk. Now, one thing with the players, we have a method of communicating, whether it's nonverbal or utilizing signals. So there's some creative ways that we can maximize what's going on and what's taking place with the venue as far as playing, but also understanding that, hey, those guys have great ears too. They can hear everything. So we got to be a little creative in how we utilize our form of communication.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Matt.
Hey, I wanted to ask specifically just about Kelechi and what he kind of brings to that offensive line, because you've got a lot of athletic guys who can move around, but Kelechi seems to really bring that brawler mentality in there. What does that do for you, and does that kind of bring in the same thing in the guys around him too?
Absolutely. He is a very physical football player, has been his whole career. He's one of these guys, he's got one speed. And we've had some guys around here similar to that. You think about Larry, he's a one-speed guy. He's going after you. Kelechi brings that. And that, when you collect guys that have that, and in our case with Kelechi, it's infectious. It carries over to other guys. He plays good physical football. And on top of that, he's experienced. He's been around for a while. He brings experience to the table. He knows the game. So we're glad to have him.
Let's go next to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Andy, just wondering whether you guys had identified the problems that maybe you had running in the short yardage and goal to go type situations the other night.
Yeah. We sure did. We had a look at that. And, you know, we talk about, hey, as an offense, as an offensive line in particular, when we're in critical situations, we've got to be able to step up and handle those situations. So when we look at it, you know, and really it's hard to say it's just this one thing or it's another. It boils down to execution and fundamentals. And so whether there was a breakdown in awareness or fundamentals, we recognize, hey, that's an area we've got to be better.
Let's go next to Seren Petra. Go ahead, Seren.
Coach, can you just kind of describe the conversations that happen? I know a lot of them happen in week as opposed to on the sideline, but about the different fourth down, you know, options you might have and what your input is as to what the plays are going to be for, you guys had a 4th and 1 in your own side of the field and you went ahead and went for it. How does that take shape? You know, the conversation, you, Eric, Andy, and, you know, who all is involved in the discussion about what plays you think are going to work about against this week's opponent in those situations?
Well, there'd be a couple ways to look at that. First off, you're right. Conversations are occurring. Part of it initially begins, it's kind of compartmentalized. We all handle our areas of the game. What do we think they're going to do in a situation? What do we like in that situation? And so whether it's, you know, a few of us working in the run game, hey, what do we want to do in a short yardage situation? Same thing in the pass game. We've got guys that are kind of looking at that. Then Coach Reed and Coach Bieniemy put that all together. And then there's another conversation, and of course it starts with Coach Reed. You know, what do we want to do? And then Pat, I'm sure, would be heavily involved in that. What will we do in this situation? And so we work as a team on that. But ultimately, you know, whether or not you're going to go for it and things like that, you know, Coach Reed is going to be taking the lead on that. From my end of things, you know, I'm going to be heavily involved in what will we do run-wise in a situation, and then whether or not we call that run, you know, that'll be Coach's call.
Looks like we've got one more. Let's go to Pete Sweeney to finish us off. Go ahead, Pete.
Coach, I realize the sample is pretty small here, but I was just curious, what do you think makes your line a little bit better equipped for some of the inside zone concepts that we saw on Thursday night?
You know, it's a very common run concept, you know, throughout the league. I mean, everybody runs inside zone. We've done a lot of it over the years. Now, we do a lot of different things, but we get a lot of practice at it. Our runners and our linemen understand the angles. You know, we have the addition of throw options, you know, things that look just like the pass game. And so we feel like even though it's a simple concept, that we can still, you know, put pressure on a defense, and our guys know how to execute it.
One of the conversations, like, you know, I know it's nitpicking, right? You score 34 points and you're in control of the game the whole time, but I know you guys are always trying to get better. So down at the goal line, you weren't able to get in, you know, running the ball. How much, it seemed like it was a lot of power play calls, right? How much, I'm trying to think how to put it without, you know, trying to ask you what the game plan is, right? How much is it vital if you're going to be effective down there to be able to change things up, to have some misdirection? That didn't seem to be where you guys were going for whatever reason. But how much easier is it when you kind of bring in some of the nuances you guys are known for that you didn't really seem to go to in the Texan game?
Well, I can tell you, speaking from the running back perspective, I mean, we took it very personally that we didn't score. Because when you look at those, I mean, it was a situation where Clyde, again, with it being his first game in the NFL with no preseason, et cetera, live opportunities down there on the goal line. Bottom line is if he follow all of the keys that we're coached up to do in that room, he scores. So some of the things we're talking about right now will be a moot point. But again, as he continues to grow, and he took a big growth after last game, and he'll take another big step into this game. But regardless of what the plan is, when we're down there, the running back's job is to score, and we need to do everything that we coach to do, and we'll score a touchdown.
Let's go next to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Dalen. A couple questions about Clyde. Haven't seen him in a game for the first time. Did you learn anything about him? And just in general, your thoughts on him as a goal line short yardage runner?
Well, I mean, what I learned about him is, I mean, he is as advertised as far as being able to make guys miss, running with low center of gravity, contact balance, different things like that, vision. But also on the flip side is, we found out, I mean, he's a rookie. It was his first game he played, no preseason. So it was a bunch of things going on all at once in that game. At the end of the day, I was very encouraged. We as an offense, as a team, organization were very encouraged with what he did. And we know that there will be some big steps coming forward. As far as him on the goal line, I know I answered this with the last gentleman, just following all our keys. I'm not trying to say, I'm just going to get in by any means necessary. But if you just follow the reads and the footwork, we're having a different conversation about Clyde as a goal line running back.
Go next to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Good afternoon, Coach. I was curious, when it comes to Clyde, did you find that his vision and patience was right where you thought it might be, or were you pleasantly surprised with just how far advanced it was, again, given the fact that this was game one of his NFL career?
No, I mean, it was on par with what we drafted him in the first round. So we, definitely were, excited about that, had an opportunity to show that in a live situation repeatedly. Was definitely encouraged by that. Again, it's just the amount of growth that happens from your first full game to your second one. So that's the part that I'm excited about, that we're all excited about, is, man, he had some hiccups in the first game, that's to be expected, but here coming into this second game, I mean, he's really grown a lot. You're talking about just from the last game to the next practice that we had a few days ago, just learning and being able to see on tape, wow, I didn't do this, I should have did this, I can do this. It's going to be, I would expect there to be some bigger steps coming to this game too.
Let's go next to Darren Smith and then finish with Matt Derrick. Go ahead, Darren.
Hey, Coach. First of all, thank you for doing this. Look, you've had a chance to coach Kareem Hunt, Damian Williams, obviously Spencer Ware, along with Clyde. Now, that being said, they've had some great games and what looks to be, promising careers underneath you. Talk about that, if you will, but also, should we start mentioning your name as an offensive coordinator down the line? Is that something that you would hope to move to later on in your career?
Yeah, just speaking about the first thing you said, with, man, being blessed to be able to come here to the Kingdom and have some great guys in college and be able to bring that knowledge here to the NFL with Kareem and the list of guys that you said, very excited and was happy about having that honor to do that, and to hopefully take those guys and advance them as players since they've been here, we had them. Being able to have that same opportunity with Clyde is definitely in effect right now. I knew of Clyde, knew his running back coach coming out of college. I'm excited to have him and what he's going to ultimately do. I think game one, we got a chance to preview into what that can be, keeping him level-headed, moving forward, trusting the process, and continuing to get better. To go to your second question, heck yeah. We all in this, to win, I'm in it, obviously to win, have impact on the players that I coach, develop relationships, but you want to continue to advance yourself professionally also. So, yeah, being an offensive coordinator and moving on to a head coach is something that, I can envision for myself. But, in the meantime, man, I'm just going to control what I control and have these backs ready to roll here in a few days.
Let's go last to Matt Derrick. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Coach, thanks for the time. I actually wanted to ask you about one of the guys that your group runs behind with Kelechi Osemele, because the EB called him a competitive prick a little bit ago. And I'm just wondering, what is it about, having a guy like that that's a brawler that helps out in the run game? And does having a guy like that you're, as a running back, you're running behind, give you a little bit of extra juice?
Yeah, it does. I mean, because, he's just a nasty guy up front, and he's going to do whatever it takes to move his man off the spot. And ain't nothing like doing that to a guy who obviously don't want to be moved, So, you gravitate towards that. I mean, the whole offensive line, those guys all gritty, grimy guys inside, but he comes in with a next level of grittiness that definitely is something that the whole offense feeds off of. But as a runner running behind that, man, you love it.
One issue in the first game, tackling. I know you guys had talked about how it was an issue coming into the game. Have a few struggles with that. Is that just kind of basic, just trying to get that game, rhythm back in, or is it something that you guys need to get back to Drillberg and correct?
Well, I think there's a number of factors there. Tackling is always something as a defensive coach that you're concerned about. The first game is always, the first live bullets of it are always a little bit of an adjustment to full speed and tackle into the ground. We're drilling it, we're working it. I thought, in that first game, we had some other issues in terms of scrambling and athleticism at the quarterback position that created some problems. That's, part of who that guy is in terms of Deshaun Watson. And we're going to face a similar challenge there this week. And, we're going to continue to work on it. And obviously we don't want any missed tackles. And we're going to work in practice to try to achieve that goal, understanding we may fall short, but we're going to continue to coach it and work it and drill the fundamentals of things.
Go next to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Hey, Coach, I was wondering what your initial thoughts were on seeing both Mike Dana and then Turk Wharton, just considering their fairly new names that we don't know a ton about.
You're in terms of what my thoughts are on those two guys?
On your initial look.
Yeah, I mean, both guys have done a great job since we got them here. They work hard. They come in every day. They're very smart. They take great notes. They've got a business-like demeanor about them that I've been very impressed with, both of them, to be honest. They're mature individuals for rookies coming into the NFL, in my opinion. It's been a lot of fun to work with them. It's been a lot of fun to watch them develop. I'm excited about what they're going to continue to do and where they're going to continue to go. They're two fun guys to coach. And, I expect them to continue to improve based on what their athletic skill set is and then what they bring to the job every day in terms of their work ethic and their dedication.
We've got two more hands up. Let's go, Matt, Derek, and Sarin to close it out. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to ask specifically just about tackle and inside. With Derek still dealing with that ankle issue they had in the offseason, and now it looks like you're going to be without Colin for a couple of weeks. Just how concerned are you then with the depth inside there? And, could we see more of Tershawn and even like a guy like Braxton Hoyt coming up from the practice squad this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot that remains to be seen there in terms of how that all plays out, but we've got some options there, and I honestly don't know that that's a great concern to me. My thought process is we're going to prepare each and every one of the guys, whether they're on the roster, whether they're on the practice squad, to play each week. And that's my expectation for those guys, is that they're prepared and when called upon that they're going to step up and perform. And we've spent a lot of time doing that, all the way through the off season and through training camp. I expect those guys, if and when called upon, whoever that may be, Tim Ward as an example, Braxton as an example, Damone Harris, Taco Charlton, guys that didn't necessarily play in the game a week ago. That's a very fluid situation week in and week out. And that's my expectation for each and every one of those guys, that they're going to prepare and be ready to go. And if they're called upon, that they're going to go out and perform at a high level for us. And I've got confidence in every one of those guys, and I feel good about the depth that we've got. I think that's a great credit to our personnel department and the people that they brought in. I think it's a great credit to that group of individuals in terms of the way they approach their business on a day-to-day basis.
Go to Sarin with the last one. Go ahead, Sarin.
Coach, I know Frank Clark and Chris Jones had big days getting after the quarterback, right? But also, if you can see that the other guys are maybe taking care of the dirty work, right? The assignment sound, the containment, making sure that there's not a wide open lane so that those guys can just do what they do and get after it. Overall, is that a tough sell to guys, right? Like, I mean, the big paydays come for guys piling up sacks, right? But is that difficult to get those, sometimes, maybe not on this team. And I'm interested to hear what you think about the guys you got now and how guys like Passanio and those guys will do those kind of things. But maybe in the past, have there ever been times where you've had a hard time with a guy trying to get him to do the dirty work so that maybe somebody else gets the glory?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair question. I've always looked at it in these terms, that speaking to pass rush specifically, okay, pass rush is consistently good. Pass rush is not one or two individuals. It's not one guy beating one-on-one rushes. It's 4, 5, 6 guys, whatever you're bringing in terms of number of rushers. Maybe it's 3, maybe it's 2 at times, but being coordinated in what you're doing and being on the same page with the plan. And not necessarily, listen, if we do that consistently, we will consistently affect the quarterback, and the sack numbers will be where they are. And I'm not necessarily concerned about who gets them and who gets the credit for them. The ultimate goal is that the Chiefs win. And, you know, to me, we've got a great group of guys that have bought into that philosophy. They're not necessarily concerned or enamored with their own personal accolades or what their statistical numbers are. They're concerned with what the overall objective here is, which is winning and playing good defense on our side of the ball to contribute to the ultimate goal of the team winning. And that takes everyone involved. And, you know, we've been fortunate. The guys have bought into that. Have I coached guys in the past that maybe it was a little harder to sell that philosophy to? Yeah, that's probably the case. But I give a lot of credit to the guys that we've got here right now in that they are unselfish. And that's one of the – if you ask me if you're looking for a criteria in terms of defensive linemen, that's probably number one on the list. And we got a good group in that regard.
About L'Jarius Sneed, I'm wondering about his evolution with the team since you first saw him, and I also want to know about him in the meeting room. How has he impressed you there?
Well, when you look at Sneed, I mean, coming in, that's the reason why we went out and got him. You know, he's able to run. He's tall. He's long. And, you know, you look at our corners up from last year, you know, he just fit that mold. But, you know, it's been a transformation for him, you know, understanding the speed of the game from college coming to the pros and not really having any OTAs in quarterback school. He was able to pick it up very fast. But one of the things that really helped was Ward as well as Breland when he was here, talking to him, trying to get him up to speed because Breland knew his situation and, you know, just making sure that he was feeling comfortable. And as far as him in the meeting room, he's asking the right questions and, you know, he's going out there and applying those things on the field. So, you know, for him to go out there and have that such game, you know, it just was really promising for the Chiefs and as well as for Sneed as well.
Let's go next to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Good afternoon, Coach. I was wondering where Bo Pete actually is right now. I was wondering, do you see him showing enough progress where there is an opportunity maybe for him to get involved in the defense, especially as there's injuries to potentially not have Ward and so on and so forth? Or do you think he has a longer way to go?
Really smart kid. You know, throughout the virtual process, you know, had all the right answers, you know, and he was able to pick the stuff up very fast and quickly, you know, but he's a month and a half behind everybody else. You know, he's still getting his legs up under him. You know, he's playing a lot of scout team right now, and we're talking him through some of the things that he didn't have opportunity to do during training camp. So, you know, he's coming along slowly. Coach Spags, Coach Reed, you know, they're taking their time with him, but, you know, he's going to be in a situation sooner or later to be ready and prepared. So, you know, he's being quizzed and challenged throughout the course of the day and throughout the course of practice. But, you know, it's going to be up to Coach Reed as well as Coach Spags when they feel comfortable. But first of all, he's going to have to learn how to do things on special teams because that's where you really, you know, have the opportunity to make that that game day roster, and Coach Tobe is going to be working him in. So, you know, it's just going to be a situation for him picking up those little small things, and then once he does that, getting his legs up under him and being able to, you know, go out there and have that opening game roster. But, you know, being out a month and a half or however long he was out, you know, now he's finally getting over that soreness part and getting his legs up under him.
Let's go next to Seren Petra. Go ahead, Seren.
Coach, I know Thornhill coming back from the injury, just thoughts about where he is and what he's able to do?
Man, Juan, you know, when he first did it, he was like, Coach, I'm going to be ready for week one. I was like, Juan, you're not going to be ready. But, I mean, his mindset was there. And then just to be able to see him go out there and play the way he played, you know, is really good for him and really good for us because, you know, we put a lot of work into him last year. And now he's right out there with Tyron Matthew and, you know, putting, you know, everybody in situation to make plays. So very impressed with him. You know, he was a situation where, you know, just going out there, getting the feel, you know, because when you have an injury like that and it was, you know, doing a football game, for you to go out there, you have a little hesitancy. But once he got that first contact, came to the sideline, he was like, Coach Sam, I'm good. So, you know, we'll eventually let him off the leash. But, you know, for now, he's doing a really good job. So hopefully, you know, he can continue. And you look at the training staff, they've done a phenomenal job with him. So, very impressed with him and happy with the things that he's done so far.
Let's close it out with Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Sam, just to follow up on, excuse me, on Thornhill. How far do you feel he is right now from being the player he was last year?
Yeah, man, at the end of the year, man, Juan was all over the field. He was really in a good place. When you have these type of injuries, you tend to gain a little weight. And, I've always talked to him about that, and you look at him, he looks pretty good. But, it's just going to take some time, to really get back to that. In 8.5 months, that's really impressive with the things that he's able to do. So, there's no timetable. I mean, as long as he can go out there and he can apply the things that Coach Spags is putting on the table and on the floor for him to go out there and do, Coach Spags is going to let him do it. So Coach Merritt has done a great job with him, bringing him along, throughout the course of training camp, and just watching him throughout the individuals drills and engaging him and seeing exactly where he is. But, he's picked up a lot more reps, and, he did really good in the game. So hopefully he'll be able to continue to build off of that and be back to the old Juan. But, we'll just have to see, and then just hopefully the training staff and Juan himself continue to take care of himself, throughout the course of the week, so he can make it to game day and be out there and be able to go out there and apply the game plan that Coach Spags put together.
What's up, man?
What's up, Sam? How you doing?
Good. Spags mentioned something when we talked to him just a little bit ago about the fact that you were working off to the side just on your get off. Can you kind of take me through that process and how long that's been? I mean, has that been an emphasis your entire career? Has that been something more recent that you've really tried to hone in on?
No, I've been working on my get off and just doing different stuff like that for my whole career. Really, I kind of picked up the habit back in the day. I had a defensive coordinator in college, Greg Madison, and he kind of coached my position as well. He kind of taught me a lot of things. Just throughout the course of a practice, your hips get locked, your hips get tight from you being on the field working to in between reps and stuff like that. So I do stuff like that just to stay loose. Constantly just training my mind, training my body. That repetitive, muscle memory, just getting off the ball and just staying on top of those things like that.
Let's go next to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Frank.
Oop, try again, Adam.
Yeah, Frank, we good? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, I'm wearing this hat just for you today, by the way.
Oh man, I said it's terrible.
You sure looked the other night like you feel better physically than maybe you did all of last season. Is that accurate? Or if you did eventually feel like you do now, was there a point maybe a line where you can draw where, hey, this is where I started to feel this way last year, if that makes any sense?
Yes. Yeah, that's true. I am feeling better. Like I said, our staff here did a great job, and just me coming back in from our off season and just figuring out, getting everything corrected, getting all my correctives and stuff like that in order so that I could start this season off fresher than I did last year. Also, just getting through camp. I started off camp a little sick, but was able to come back, midway point and finish out camp strong and just get my feet under myself. And that was my goal, just to start this season healthier than I had started the previous years. Man, you say dating back 3 years ago, it seemed like I started every season with a different injury. Whether it was an elbow or whether it was a neck or whether it was this or that. It was just something different. And just to start this season off and continue to go into the week strong and continue to be out there with my guys. It's dope, man. Seeing the results and being able to just be out there and compete and talking my stuff like I do, man.
Let's go next to Harold Kuntz. Go ahead, Harold.
Hey, Frank, a few things for you. Tyron Matthew, after the game, said he was, quote, pissed off. You feel the kind of same way about that performance against Houston. Does that help you, especially with the rookies, when you're studying film and getting involved with them? Now you have something tangible to look at that you can help them, especially a guy like Tershawn Wharton. And also want to get your thoughts on Arrowhead Stadium now officially being a polling place location, and what do you think of that?
Oh, man, it's dope. We encourage everybody to get out there and vote. That's one thing we've been kind of pushing since, pushing the narrative on that since we've been back in the building. And, more than ever now, our each vote counts, but more than ever, it's so important for us to get out there and vote. cast our ballot. But pissed off, man. That's the that's the word, man. Because you pride yourself on stopping the run, finishing games strong as a defense, and I feel like we stopped the run for the most part. Let a few at the end of the game get away. Deshaun had a few scrambles, as we was rushing the passer when the game was, obviously in our hands. But it's just finishing games. We give up 2 touchdowns, I believe, in the fourth quarter. When the guys we had them held to 7 points at that point, and just finishing the game, finishing drives, not letting them those extended drives where you can get off the field, on the first series, and then you let them extend it, then it stands to a touchdown, stuff like that. We had some good signs. No penalties on defense, stuff like that. So it was some good signs out there. It wasn't all bad. It wasn't as bad as I feel like last year. Whereas you get a team coming here in the Texans and they obviously look way more prepared than us, and it just takes us having to fight and get it out the mud basically, and to claw and scratch for a victory. And always going to be a competitive team. Got a great quarterback over there leading them, Deshaun Watson, the escape wizard of the NFL. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, it's just competition. Competition's at an all-time high right now, and you can see just coming out, playing those guys' first game, you can tell they wanted us.
Go next to Breland Moore. Go ahead, Breland. Breland, you got us? All right, we'll come back to you, Breland. Let's go to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Frank, I just have a general question for you. We know that you love to rush the passer and stuff the run, but how much pride do you take in your ability to drop back when that is the call?
I'm really a DB in my spare time. I tell my coaches stuff all the time, Back in the day, I used to play a little bit of DB, so, my hip's still good. I can still open up, the hips, eyes, hands. That's what you need as a DB, So, my coaches, they gave me the verification, let me know I had everything that checked out. And, I got to work on my back pedal, so I'm going to get with T today after practice. I'm going to work on my back pedal a little bit and driving out of that. It's all in my offhand jam. I got to work on my offhand jam a little bit. It's tied in this week. Think he's going to run some routes on me.
Let's give Breland a try again. Breland, can you hear us now? Uh-oh. All right, Breland's out. We're going to go to Seren. Sorry, Breland.
Frank, I'm just curious, get a player's perspective on this. The NFL released their testing numbers, and it's remarkable how low the positive tests are. I think it was 2 players this week out of, all the thousands of tests that have been given, and even the support staff, the numbers are really low. Michigan obviously wasn't going to play football. Big Ten announced they're going to go back on October 24th. You've been through a big-time football program. I think Ed Orgeron said most of his players had tested positive. Why? What do you think is, having lived through that, is the problem with college being so unsuccessful where you guys in the NFL have been incredibly successful as far as avoiding the virus?
I mean, I feel like the biggest thing is just like in the other places, just, how you control it after you leave, the controlled environment. You can be put into a place of work where, they're doing an excellent job of making sure we're safe, making sure we're socially distanced. And, you get outside of that. You go home, you want to go out to eat, go to restaurants. You want to go, do different things like that are still open, that they might not be practicing their social distancing efforts as aggressive at these places. So, that's where you fall in line, and you find guys getting into a little bit of, of a situation there. Even with us, we've been told, just to kind of, watch out how, where we going out to eat at, because you start to see as people get more relaxed with the COVID stuff, you start to see seats get a little bit closer. You start to see people communicating a little bit more. You start to see masks dropping and stuff when people are around each other. And, that's where it's going to start, and we'll never really be able to get a grasp of it until we all buy in. It's a team effort. Everything in life, doesn't, it's not just football, basketball, and hockey, stuff like that. It involves a team. It's stuff that's going on in our real world that involves a complete team effort as well.
Close it out with Karen Kornacki. Go ahead, Karen.
Frank, I just want to ask you about Tyrod Taylor. Usually you guys are used to seeing Phillip Rivers when you play the Chargers, but now you've got Tyrod, and when you see him with this particular offense, what are some of the things you've been noticing about him?
He's a veteran, so everything that, he understands systems, he understands blitzes and schemes, and he's very familiar with, of course, different players on our team.
You know, I know I played him when I was back in Seattle. I played him a few times when he was in Buffalo. Even now, he's with the Chargers. You know, he's always been known as an elusive quarterback. If you let him get on the run and, you know, allow him to get comfortable in the direction in which he likes throwing, you know, he's going to make some completions. He's going to make some big plays. You seen, what was it, last week? You watch on film, you watch from his pass. If you don't do a disciplined job rushing the passer on the edges, containing the passer on the inside, getting inside push up the middle and forcing him to bubble or forcing him to make tough decisions and tough throws over. You want him to force him to make throws over the middle. You know, his strengths is throwing to the outside and really throwing those quick routes and stuff over the middle. So, you know, it's going to be key for our inside and for our edges, our defensive line as a unit to, you know, keep them contained.